morning, guys! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Karine and I like to make travel and lifestyle videos. Today we're doing something a bit different. We're going to be doing some Disney DIYs. And this first DIY I can't take credit for because I saw another influencer doing it and I absolutely had to recreate it for my upcoming trip. So if you guys want to see some 5 easy travel DIYs, then stay and follow along. So the first DIY is going to be some interchangeable Mickey ears, and I absolutely love this because I love to save space when I'm packing for Disney, so this is an absolute must for me. The first thing you're going to need is some simple Mickey ears, something that has a smooth surface, and then some peel and stick Velcro, and lastly some very easy and very cheap patches. I got these from Temu, and you can find them at like dollar stores if you don't want Disney specifically, but I wanted to do this for Disney, so I got them off Temu. And I also got these ears at a discounted price, which I was really excited about, so I didn't feel so bad about like cutting off some things or adding things to it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cut a small piece of the rough part of the Velcro. So what I did here is I cut one piece, I saw how it fit on the ear, and then I measured and cut about the same amount for the other side. And you don't want it to be too big, especially if you have some smaller patches, because otherwise you're going to see the Velcro on the other side. So I kept them rather small, and then before actually sticking them to my ears, I took my smallest patch and I put it onto the ear just to kind of see how it fit and if you were able to see the other side of the Velcro. So I'm measuring it here on my smallest patch, which was my little 0 patch, which is absolutely so cute for Halloween season. And I'm trying to see if I'm able to see it on the other side, which I was not. And also, a side note, if you're going to be using some black ears, I would suggest using black Velcro versus the white Velcro, because then you will definitely be seeing it on the other side. So that's basically what I did. So I measured it and you can't see it behind him. So it's going to be a perfect size for all of my patches. Next, you're going to peel the back of the Velcro and you're going to stick it like a sticker onto your ear or in the center or wherever you'd like to put your patches. Typically, you would just put it in the center of the ear, just like this, and then we are going to take the other type of Velcro, so the other side, which is kind of like the fluffier side of your Velcro, and that's what we're going to stick onto all of our patches. So I'm going to be cutting even pieces for each of my patches, and these can be different sizes depending on how big of a patch you have. I would recommend putting slightly bigger sizes just so that they stick on really well onto your ears. Otherwise, you kind of risk having them fall off in the middle of the parks. There you have it. It is super simple, and now whenever you're changing your outfit or you're going to a different park or maybe you're park hopping, you can literally adjust what your ears are going to look like, and I think this is such an amazing idea for your next park day. And you can just store all of your patches in like a little pouch and only carry around one pair of ears for the rest of your vacation. The next DIY is one of my favorite. It is a Tic Tac Toe to go. I have seen so many of these ideas on Pinterest and I wanted to take my own spin on it. So you're gonna need a little satchel. You can get these like little drawstring bags at the dollar store, and then I'm using my Cricut to design this, but you don't need to use a Cricut. You can easily freehand all of this stuff. So I'm using my Cricut and I am designing kind of like the little Tic Tac Toe grid. And I'm going to use my Cricut to kind of cut this up with some iron-on vinyl. Now, if you are going the Cricut route, you are going to need a heat press or an iron to adhere your iron-on vinyl. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to heat up the little satchel for about 5 seconds, just so that my vinyl can stick on properly. And then once you have your grid on the bag, you are going to heat it up for 25 seconds at about 275 on one side, and then again 25 seconds on the other side. Now for your little tic-tac-toe players, I wanted to go the nautical route because we are going on a cruise, and even though it's not a Disney cruise, I still wanted to make it Disney themed. So I started off with some air dry clay from the dollar store, and I very quickly realized that that wasn't going to work. So I ended up going with polymer clay, which I'm much more familiar with. So for one player, I did kind of like these little donut bagel shaped things, and then for the other character we did little Mickey Mouse ears, which was super easy to make. You just make one large circle and two smaller circles and you kind of flatten them together. So that's what I did. And then for polymer clay, you are going to need to put it in the oven at 275 Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes. Now, once they are all cooled off, you are free to design them however you want. For the little Mickey Mouses, I ended up doing a Disney Cruise Line logo. So I used Cricut pens, one in gold, and I kind of like made little squiggly lines. I just freehanded this, honestly, and it was super easy. So I made like 3 squiggly lines, and then in the center with a blue Cricut pen, I ended up just designing a little Mickey Mouse. Now for the other player, when I tell you guys I struggled. I did not have any white pen or marker, and I really wanted to make these look like little blue and white floaties. So I had to freehand this with some acrylic paint, and it was messy because I am not a patient person. I went in, I made my lines, and then I ended up, touching it, and it ended up smudging everywhere. So it was a struggle, especially to do a bunch of these. So if you're not patient like me, I would highly suggest going the marker route and going to get yourself a white permanent marker or a white marker in general that will not rub off, because it was super hard with paint. But I managed to do it. It was very time consuming. But yeah, overall, I think they came out pretty well, even though they did give me a hard time. To To also note, if you are going the paint route like I did, you will have to most likely go in a second time just to make the lines a little less opaque, because they were looking super smudgy and super like clear. Like you can see a lot of like the paintbrush strokes. So I had to go in a second time to just make them more of a solid color. Now this last step is definitely optional, but I feel like it elevates the look of this whole DIY so much, and that is to coat all of your little Mickey Mouses and your little Tic Tac Toe characters in UV resin. And I got this UV resin on Amazon and it was super cheap. It was a pack of 3 of them, and it also came with a UV light for about $25. So if I'm able to find the link for that, I will link it down below for you guys. And when you're coating your little Mickey Mouses or your little donut shapes in resin, be very careful as to how much you put, because if you put too much, all the resin might drip down the side and might stick to whatever surface that you're doing. So when using resin, I always recommend having a silicone mat with you. You can find these anywhere at a craft store, Michael's, or even Walmart. So the one that I'm currently using is actually a silicone mat that's used for baking, and it does the exact same job. When you're evening out your resin, I would also use either a popsicle stick or a paintbrush to kind of get an even coat everywhere. And once that's done, you're going to put it under your UV lamp for about 5 minutes, and then flip it over, do the other side, and put it under the lamp for another 5 minutes. And that is pretty much it. Now you have a Tic Tac Toe to-go board, and it's super compact that you can bring with you on your travels, and it doesn't even weigh anything. This next DIY is a DIY fanny pack, and I did this and made it look very Disney for my upcoming trip. So I had this old fanny pack that I was given, and I didn't really know what to do with it, so I decided to kind of repurpose it and make it my own with some pearls. So what you're going to need are obviously some rhinestones or pearls, some glue. I like to use the B7000 glue, but you can also use E6000 and other rhinestone glue. And also you're going to need a wax tip to pick up the little pearl pieces or rhinestone pieces. So this is the one that I use, and what you're going to do is you're going to kind of open it up. That way you have a flat surface to work with. And the first thing I like to do is kind of plan it out before I stick anything. This is kind of my number one rule whenever I'm doing any kind of craft. Same thing as when we did the first DIY, I am going to position everything to see just kind of how I like it. And that way, if I don't like the position of it, I can always switch it up and fix it up, and nothing is set in stone because I have not applied my glue yet. So that's basically what I'm doing here. I'm going to take bigger pearls, and that is going to be the Mickey head, and then I'm going to go ahead and go in with some smaller pearls, and those are going to be the little Mickey ears, which is super cute. I feel like this is also such a cute little design that you can do when you have kind of like a bridal look. But I decided to do it on this little fanny pack because why not? So once you like the little area of where you want your pearls to go, you can go in and put glue. And that is pretty much it. It is a simple repurposing DIY that you can do for your next trip on a backpack or any other type of item that you have. And it just kind of elevates the whole look, and it gives it kind of like that little Disney magic that it was missing before. This next DIY is a Disney resort banner, and I am so sad we are not staying at a Disney resort because I totally would have used this on our next vacation. So what you need for this is some cardstock in any color of choice, some glue, some string, some foam dots, so you can get these at Michael's. And I will also be using my Cricut for this project. I'm going to start off by designing this in Cricut Design Space. So obviously I kept my layout very simple, but you can get as creative as you want with this. And the first step is to do the print then cut, which is for our little characters. So I added a little Oogie Boogie and a 0 because we are going during Halloween season. So your printer is going to print these out on regular cardstock, and then you are going to put it onto your mat for Cricut and for your Cricut to cut this out for you. I don't know about you, but do you ever feel like you're just trying to flip pancakes when you're trying to scrape off your pieces off the mat like this? But I think they looked really cute, so this is what the little Oogie Boogie looked like, and the little 0. Absolutely love this. And the next step is going to be to cut out all of your banners. So for the banners, you need to have one main banner, which is going to have 2 holes at the top for the string, and then the inner part of the banner, which is going to kind of be your colored part. So the colors I chose were beige for the main banner part, and then for the inner layer of the banner, I chose a mixture between black and orange for Halloween. So as you can see, I'm putting everything into this little bin, and this is something I do often when there's a lot of pieces in a Cricut project that I'm doing. That way I don't lose any pieces, nothing falls on the floor, everything's just kind of sitting in this little bin here. So that's what I'm doing at this moment. I'm just kind of putting everything and collecting all of my little cardstock pieces that I need for this project. All right, now to the fun part. And again, we are going to go out and position everything the way we want it to. So rule number 1 is just to kind of plan everything before you start adding glue and before you start sticking everything and making it permanent. This is just the perfect way to avoid having to redo things, because I have made so many of those types of mistakes where I get so excited to do a project and then I'm going to stick things out, and then I realize I did something wrong or I did something I didn't like, and it's because I just didn't plan ahead. So I'm just planning ahead here, and then you can see Skylar in the background. I'm not too sure what she was doing over there, but planning everything out and putting everything in the position and making sure that I like the way everything looks. So this is what the banners look like when they're together. I did a mixture of black, orange, and then I'm just making sure I like the way the letters look on the banner, and making sure it's identical to what my layout was in Cricut Design Space. And this is basically what it looks like. And it says Disney Vacay 2025, and I'm so sad I won't be able to use it on my vacation, but if I was staying at a Disney resort or at Pop Century like we usually do, I would probably make a banner like this. Now the next step of this process is for the characters. So when I print out my characters, I also print out kind of like a shadow. It's basically like an identical shape to what your print and then cut characters are, and on that shadow we're going to be sticking the foam dots. So you're going to kind of stick it on the outer layer of your shadow. So everywhere, like at the top, the bottom, and then maybe one in the center, just so that it's stable. And then you're going to peel off the little sticky part at the top and then stick your character on top. And what this does is it kind of gives your character a bit of a 3D effect. And I feel like it just adds a bit more character to your whole banner. You can opt out from doing this and just make everything 2D. It's up to you. I just like this step just to make it kind of a little cooler, and it gives him a bit of a shadow in the back, I think. And there you have it, your little Oogie Boogie character. Now the last step is to kind of rope your string through. So I took this simple black twine. I think I got this at Michael's, but you can get this anywhere on Amazon, the dollar store, and you're just going to kind of rope through your whole banner. So you're going to do one for your bottom banner and one for your top banner. And once that's done, you are ready to put up your sign. And it fits so nicely in a window. I'm really excited with how this came out. And if you guys end up recreating this, please tag me in it, because I'd love to see what your resort banners look like or what ideas you guys decided to do. So for my last and final DIY, we are going to be doing a Disney countdown calendar. So I really love this idea. I always wanted to make myself a Disney calendar, and I'm finally happy that I came up with some sort of idea. So we are going to print out kind of like the insert of what your calendar is going to look like. You also need some cardstock, a hot glue gun with some hot glue. Then you're also going to need a hole punch, a pool noodle, some flowers. I got these artificial flowers at the dollar store. You're going to need some sort of frame. This can be like an old frame that you have lying around that you're not using anymore. You're going to need an X-Acto knife and some glue. If you don't have the B7000 glue, that's fine. You can use hot glue as well. That works just as well. So what I'm doing for this part is, with my printout, I basically designed what I wanted to go inside my my frame, and then I'm kind of cutting it down to size based on how big my frame is. So that's just kind of what I'm doing here in this step. Next, I'm going to take these kind of like suction cup hooks. I had these from when we last went to Disney to decorate our resort window with some fairy lights, but I had these lying around and I thought this was kind of the perfect idea. These as well, you can find them on Amazon, and I will have them linked down below. So I chose the smaller suction cup, and that's what I'm going to use to kind of hook on my numbers. Then I used my Cricut to print out numbers and the little cards that are going to be hooking on to our hooks. So again, if you don't have a Cricut, you can easily do this just with a ruler and some scissors, and then you can draw on your numbers. So we're just going to glue on the numbers, and once that's done, you're also going to do a little hole punch at the top. So when you're sticking on your numbers, just make sure that your number isn't too high up, because you need that space to make that little hole at the top. you have your Disney countdown, and you can swap out the numbers for whatever number or whatever countdown you have on your Disney vacation. Hopefully you are already on the last day of your Disney countdown. And so if you'd like to keep it very simple, you can stop at this point. But if you would like to see how I did the flowers, then keep on watching. So for the flowers, what you're gonna need is the pool noodle. So the pool noodle is gonna be your base. So what I did is I used my Cricut mat and I measured my frame, and then based on how long my frame was, I made a little line on my pool noodle, and that's kind of gonna be the end of it. So you want your pool noodle to be from one end of the frame to the other, no less, no more. And then with my X-Acto, I'm just gonna go in and cut at that point. Next, what you're gonna do is you're gonna cut lengthwise down, but you're not gonna cut too far in, just enough to kind of cut one side of it, because if you go too far, you might risk cutting the other end of your pool noodle. So just one side, and that's what we're doing here. And this is kind of what we're gonna use to grip onto the frame, and it's gonna be kind of like a little baguette when you open like a sandwich. Next is the fun part, which is the flowers. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of cutting them. And what I like to do is I like to cut them longer than I actually need them first, just because once you cut them too short, you kind of risk having unusable flowers, and maybe it's not necessarily what you want. So you're always better off cutting them longer, and then if you realize they're too long, you can just go back and cut them shorter. So that's what I'm doing here. I realized it's way too long, so I'm cutting it shorter, and I'm not going to glue anything right away. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of stick the little pieces of flowers into the pool noodle to kind of get an idea of how things are. Like my number one rule, we're never going to glue anything right away until we know we're 100% sure we like it like this. I also realized it was much easier to try to stick all of the flowers in once the pool noodle was on top of my frame. So this is just me adding my pool noodle to the top of the frame. That way I can kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like on top of the whole layout of everything. Once you like the layout of your flowers, this is the green light to go ahead and use your glue gun. Once you start using your glue gun, just be ready that it is going to stick very quickly, so there is not a lot of wiggle room to kind of move things around. So that's why I like to make sure that everything is in the right place. And you just have fun with it. You keep kind of layering it. I tend to like to put bigger flowers in the middle and then smaller flowers around the sides with a bit of greenery. And I noticed also that at the bottom you were kind of seeing the pool noodle. So I was using the fake leaves from my flowers or from my florals to kind of stick to the bottom, and I was just basically gluing those leaves down. That way there was no movement at all, and there was no risk of seeing the pool noodle and the underside of it in its color. And there you have it, 5 fun travel DIY that you can try for your next Disney vacation. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to see more. And let me know if you guys enjoy this type of stuff, and let me know if it's something you would like me to continue doing. I really enjoyed making these for you guys, and it really helps me when you engage with my channel because it tells me whether you guys liked something or not. So stay tuned for more, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Night night.